This is a test. I have been trying to get my microphone to stop picking up the fan of my computer. I tweaked the settings a little bit, so let's see how this works. Have you ever wondered how long do digital artists actually spend on their pieces? I cannot generalize, but professionals that work on League of Legends, splash arts, or gacha sprites probably spend weeks at a time perfecting their work, since it's meant to be marketable. However, me, I am lazy. You couldn't tell by my pieces probably, or you could. Do let me know. But they usually never take over 10 hours, mostly because I prefer finishing my projects in one sitting, but also because I don't have the attention span to make any one of them perfect. After all, only a handful of people will actually get to see any of this, so I might as well not burn myself out. However, that being said, I still managed to get a lot done in the little time frame I set myself. I usually get praised and questioned on how I make art so fast. Today I shall share some of my secrets with you. A decade of digital art experience under my belt taught me nothing, by the way. My skull is thick, and I refuse to learn anything. These tricks are more of a recent development, really. For example, I used to get my lasso tool and select my layer contents that way for years. A few months ago, I finally took like 3 seconds to read the options I have available on right-clicking my layer. I can just select layer contents with 2 clicks. It changed my life, not even kidding. So let us get right into it. Here are some tricks to shave off hours of your creative process. By the way, all these tricks and tips are catered to users of Clip Studio Paint specifically. If you want a good art program, I recommend it. It does go on sale pretty often too, so keep an eye out for it. Before starting any project, an artist will select a brush from the many tools they have on hand. I personally have hand-picked brushes from content creators whose style I really liked. I think these ones were from a not safe for work artist, but I can't really remember at this point. I use these for my more cartoonish works. Well, mostly I use this one. It makes sketching feel smooth and fun. And then there's the brushes I got from Peter. I don't have his full name, I forgot to add it in my script, but he's on screen. Those are the brushes I got from Peter, which at the time I got them, I did not know who he was. Like, I did not know he was an artist who worked with Magic the Gathering. I thought I just stumbled upon an incredible hobbyist on Instagram. You can tell I'm illiterate. Speaking of Peter, he actually shaped a lot of my recent improvement and development with these free tools, which I shall list them all in this video, and I will include them in the description. I have a whole brush category full of his free cloud brushes. I absolutely love them. Now let's talk about the other kind of brushes. I am unsure what you call these, like presets or materials or tools. You can download many cheating quote-unquote brushes of the online CSP store. You can find pretty much anything you don't want to draw from scratch and download the material for it. Just add it here and use it. Now, I don't need to draw individual belts on a character with lots of belts. Kind of nifty. That being said, I recommend not getting carried by your brushes. I don't like using them as is. They feel stiff and pop out too much. I like plopping down the brush where I need it, then trace over it with my current brushes I am using for my piece for a more organic feel. In this video I started painting a braid from scratch and it was taking way too long for my liking, so I pulled out a braid brush and did exactly that. Look, I already told you I'm lazy. Don't look at me like I didn't tell you. The other tool you can get for free from Peter is his angel-themed gradient maps. When I tell you it's shaved hours of my process, it's not only practical for applying color to a grayscale piece, it is also a very fun tool to experiment with. When going through them, OBS doesn't capture the tool window, so it looks like I'm cycling through colors using psychic powers, but it's actually just me trying gradient maps on for size to see which one I like the best. When I can't find something I like, I apply 2 or 3 contradicting maps and play with the opacity and layer setting for a while. Speaking of grayscale, when rendering in grayscale, it's best to try avoid focusing on smaller details right away. In this clip, I blocked in a rough idea of where the shadow and light would be cast on Erlalan first. It looks messy, and believe me, it hurts to go against my nature of zooming in and doing precision shading, but simplifying your base idea of shading first will save you plenty of correction attempts later. Also, if you have trouble applying color to your grayscale rendering like I had, here's how you do it. You go to your layer setting and set it to color. You're welcome.
Bruh.
You know how sometimes when coloring your line art you find pixels of white popping out? The easiest way to fix that is to give your character a background silhouette. You just need to select the void around your character, invert your selection, and then go all the way behind your color layers and block in your line art's selected color. Easy enough, takes 10 seconds to do, rather than trying to color in all the mishaps by hand. I also learned a neat trick to avoid selecting the area of my line art every time I want to color a piece, as in instead of clicking on my line art layer, using a selection wand, selecting a layer below it and filling it with color, instead you go to your line art layer, click this power grid looking icon, then freely go down to your color layers using the bucket tool, never having to interact with your line art again. It means you don't need to feel the color by hand either. Also, it means that if you forget to do line art for minor details, you can color those in by adding colored lines on your color layer where your details are, then use the bucket tool. The color will remain within the line art boundaries. I hope that made sense. But before you try this one out and forget about it, let's try clipped layers. You want to change the color of something complicated, like your line art, but don't want to redraw it? Add a new layer above it, clip it to your desired layer, and bucket tool the color in. Remember to turn off the power grid button from the last step when you do this. Clip Studio Paint also comes with 2 base 3D models inside. You can use those to visualize a pose you can't find a reference for. You can merge the material layer into a blank layer to turn the model into a static PNG, then lower the opacity and use the model as a base. And I think that's about all the tricks I can list off the top of my head right now, for specifically making your creative process shorter and easier. There's way more things to discuss about drawing programs, like what a DPI is, how to change your canvas size, how to turn on the grid and rulers, how to access the sliders for hue and saturation, and how to record a time-lapse on CSP, like one would on Ibis Paint. I sometimes forget drawing programs are also complicated tools that not everyone knows how to use. I don't feel proud about knowing any of this elite ball knowledge, but it's important to remember this is a skill, not a talent that just dropped into my lap one day. Thank you for watching, dear viewers. I hope I helped you discover a way to make art less agonizing for yourself. If any of you, approximately 10 viewers, have any questions about Clip Studio Paint, I will do my best to answer those questions in the comments. Follow my socials, subscribe, and stay safe.